Hello, I'm Shanna Fuld, a senior broadcasting major at SUNY Oswego, and today we have Brian Ronan, who is a two-time Tony Award-winning sound designer with us, and also an Oswego alumni, 84. And we have him today with us to talk about some sound design and talk about his experiences. And we at Oswego are really happy to have you.
Well, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
How is it to be back in Oswego?
Well, it's perfect that we're in the middle of a storm, because it's kind of how I remember it when we talk about people who have come to Oswego can always talk about that the shared surviving the severe winters here. Winter in New York City is nothing compared to the winters spent in Oswego, and everyone has that commonality and takes that with us going forward. So it's a lot. I'm kind of glad it's doing what it's doing right now. It's wreaking havoc on the roads, but it's appropriate, and it's February in Oswego, and that's how it ought to be.
Absolutely. When I go back to New York City in the middle of winter, I usually just pack my shorts because it is so much warmer. Okay, so I'd like to talk about some of the roles that a sound designer fits in. What are some things that you have to do when you're in the studio and Broadway?
Okay. Well, the thing to know about a sound designer is all theaters are just empty rooms. There's nothing in them. So all designers, lighting designers, set designers, we have to bring everything in to the show. So what a sound designer does is I read the script, I talk to the composer if they're around, if they're alive. I talk to the directors, and I get a flavor of what kind of show we're doing. Sometimes they're rock and roll shows, sometimes they're old school musical theater shows. And my job is to design and specify a sound system that's appropriate for the theater that we're in and that fits and complements the show that we're doing. And my job consists of several areas within the theater. It's first and foremost is making sure that the audience hears the show very well, hears every word of the show, every song, every spoken word, and every instrument in the pit, and make sure that the orchestrations are served properly. And then behind the scenes, I have to make sure that the cast is comfortable. I set up an environment, an acoustic environment for the cast to make sure that they can hear the orchestra, they can keep time with the music. If they're dancing, can they keep their rhythm in sync? And can the actors and the singers keep their pitch and perform to their best? That's what I have to serve for them. As well as backstage, we also have like little closed circuit video systems, where because sometimes the conductor may be in the pit, but I might have singers backstage or off stage, and they need to watch the conductor and keep time when he's giving the downbeats and that sort of thing. So there's a little mini system that goes on there. And another micro system is the communication system. It's kind of the nuts and bolts of the boring part, but the show doesn't run without that, and it comes under my umbrella to serve. But the biggest thing is delivering the product to the audience, the paying audience. That's who we're there to serve, and that's my biggest responsibility is to the paying audience at a Broadway show.
Okay. Glad that you talked about some of the systems that happen in the show. We had a speaker here last week at Oswego, Dr. Bernice King, and she's the daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., and she talked about how Martin Luther King Jr., he created what she referred to as a blueprint. And that was the blueprint for us. He came in and he did what he had to do, and then he left the American public with somewhat of a blueprint that we should utilize and follow. And that got me thinking about blueprints for you in the theater. At the beginning, when you get assigned to a show, are you coming up with some type of a blueprint or an idea of what you're going to do?
Yeah, I have to document it. I mean, I physically draft a show that would have been called Blueprint at one day, but now it's kind of on CAD, computer drafting, that sort of thing. And that's the physical sound design, and that's something after I visited a theater, taking measurements, figured out what I'm going to do. I have to draw this out so I can hand it over to an engineer who can then take it and take these blueprints and kind of build off of that. They have to literally bring in the system that I've designed in, set it up, hook it up, and make sure it's working properly before the first performances.
Did you learn how to use these programs once you were already on the job?
I got some of that here in Oswego. I mean, we didn't have I wasn't doing computer drafting then, but we were drafting, and I was doing flow charts and with pencil and vellum paper, and we used to buy right downstairs here, and this is where all the supplies were bought. And so my drafting experience got started here, but this was 1983, 84, so not everybody had a computer at home, and I certainly did not have one. It was old school. You rolled it up like you see architects walking around sometimes with those tubes, and
Right.
that's how we transferred the information. So, but I learned that here, and then when I started working professionally in the city, that's when I started learning, and the computers came into my life, and we all kind of got on board with the computers, started doing it there, which was such a lifesaver, because if you wanted to make a change on the old school, you had to like erase everything, you had to redraw on everything, as opposed to now you can just cut and paste, and it was a great time saver to kind of upgrade. Once again, computers leading the way for us, but that was an example of, so that was something I learned here in Oswego, and then it kind of got more sophisticated as I became a working professional.
That's so great, especially to hear when you're a student that some of the things that you're going to be learning here, you're really going to need to use, I guess, a little bit different than when you're in high school and you're learning a variety of things. Tom Morse is a sound designer who graduated from Oswego before you. I know that he had a part in helping you get started. What do you think got you started out of college in your career?
Right about this time of year, kind of come February or so of my last semester, I started to realize, well, I'm done in this ring, and I better have something to go to. So I started, and he was a very successful sound designer, and we didn't have a relationship, but I started calling him and just kind of asking him, hey, I'm coming to New York. Do you need anybody? You need an assistant, or anything like that? He didn't have a lot of work for me, but what he did do, he did connect me with one of the sound shops in New York. Introduced me to them, and I got an internship with them, and I finished my last 9 credits with them. Actually, I kind of graduated with them. And that place is what opened up a lot of doors for me, and that's where I started meeting people. When it came to do my first engineering job, I had been at the shop for a while, kind of learning the nuts and bolts of the gear that's used in a professional level. Tom had an off-Broadway show they needed an operator for, and he gave me the nod. He let me try it. It was my first time, leaving the shop, going out, and kind of really doing this for real, doing a real professional gig. And it was great, and the show was wonderful, and I had a great time, and he was great to work with. And we maintained a bit of a relationship over the years. We kind of like quickly, your path takes different ways, so I didn't work with him a lot, but he was very instrumental in my first couple of, opening the first couple of doors for me. It was great to have that, and the Oswego connection was a big deal.
Yeah. I know a lot of students here are going to be doing things like that very soon, including myself. And so when I think about your work in theater, you've done so many shows, you've worked on so many shows. Is there one that you think, wow, that one was so fun, I enjoyed that, I got to work with these people, and or I got to be in this state or this city?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like choosing your favorite child in a way, because I do love them all in some way or other. But probably one of the most significant shows in my life, it was because it was fun. It struck me at a time in my life, was when I was the operator for the musical Rent. That was because it was kind of a groundbreaking, and it was kind of really just cool to be part of that, and this bizarrely talented, well-cast group of people, and some of them went on to become such big stars, and they're kind of fun to kind of watch that. The music was so fascinating. The heartbreaking part where the young composer died on the night of the first public performance before he never even saw his successes. It was all part of what made it such a kind of a special experience for me. And I was with that show for like over 10 years as an operator, and it was there when I was at Rent that I started to drift off and start to dabble in sound design, and it was because I had that base and that wonderful home to come back to, that I could go off for a while, establish myself a designer. I got to a point where I said, I have to kind of make a choice here, and that's when I had to leave Rent kind of permanently and let it ran its last couple of years without me.
So 2 of the shows that you were noted for, 2011, The Book of Mormon, and 2014, Beautiful, the Carole King show, musical. So let's just talk about collaboration. These are really big shows, and I'm sure that you had to collaborate with many different people in order to get a final product. What is important that you think students should, I guess, be utilizing now when they're collaborating on their group projects and things that they're working on?
I think the biggest thing is to not dig in. Everybody believes we're kind of, everyone who's a kind of working professional probably believes what they're doing is the most important thing in the history of the world, and that's true of everybody, and that's okay. But it's kind of silly and rather unprofessional to dig in and be unmovable on something. Something as simple, one thing that happens in the theater is just real estate. There's small places, and there's only one proscenium. I want to be there with my loudspeakers. The scenic designers sometimes want to be there as well. Lighting designers want to be there. We all kind of have to share a common space. And you need to kind of just collaborate with each other, talk to each other, communicate with each other, give and take. There's a little give and take. Sometimes you can't always get everything you want, but the important thing to keep in mind is that the end result is we want the best show for everybody. We want to deliver back to the director and make sure his or her vision is visualized, his or her vision is realized. And the producers are getting their money's worth, and that's kind of the game. So that's the first thing I tell people: just don't be so rigid, because there isn't room for everybody to be rigid. It's not possible. We have to kind of bend a little bit to get the thing done, to bring the show in.
So maybe sense of humor is something that is
helps.
important.
It's a tool. Some people choose ranting, crazy behavior, but that doesn't really work for too long. But yeah, sense of humor works very well. And just, frankly, just the camaraderie of trying to get this common thing done. Eventually, you'll kind of you roll up your sleeves and you get the job done. And again, if the spirit of the thing is to bring in the best possible show we can, that becomes easier to do. If you start getting a little myopic and think, no, it's all about me and all about my space, it's going to backfire, and you're going to need a referee. Sometimes you need a referee to come in and step in and do that. But most of the time, once you're in the working professional world, it doesn't happen so much. We get it. We know we have to give things up and still come across with a quality product.
Have you ever done anything maybe on a tour or stayed with the group?
All the time. Oh yeah, when I was an operator, when I was the engineer, the person who now works for me, I was an engineer, and I toured for a couple of years. I did tours of Cats and 42nd Street and Les Miserables, and these were tours that moved around the country. Like every week or so, we pack up and move to another city. I think it's a very important part of the learning process, and because it's quite a challenge to close a show on a matinee on a Sunday night in say I don't know, Tempe, Arizona, and then have to open up on a Tuesday night in Los Angeles. And you pack the trucks. It takes a lot of teamwork and coordination to get there. You have to set the show up rather quickly and deliver a quality product on a Tuesday night for a paying audience. And it's a cool way to kind of that's kind of a family. You live with these people. You're traveling with these people. You work with these people. Most of the time, you all get along, and it's quite a large extended family. And it's a lot. Touring's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. You get to see the country, and they pay you to do so. I think it's a great way to kind of make a living.
So you've seen a bunch of cities and a bunch of states, and made a lot of friends.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
That sounds like fun.
Most of the time, yeah.
We're going to pull it back to Oswego a little bit.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite or fond memory of a time that you were in Oswego?
I think there comes a time, and it happened for me. You're learning. There came this point where one of the teachers, I think his name was JV, he was kind of the tech kind of head over here, and I realized, I'd crossed over a bit. I knew a fair amount of stuff. I knew my way around this. I could be trusted alone in the booth, and it's a simple thing, but it was one of those moments was I was like, I got this, and I got this. So this is actually working, and this is not a waste of my time. That's not a very heartwarming memory, but it was significant to me because I really came here to work, and when I realized, I'm getting this, I think I might have a talent for this. And it was just an internal moment, but I remember happening up in the booth in Waterman, and I kind of realized, I got this covered. I think I know what I'm doing. And it was a point in my education where I actually felt it was paying off, and it kind of set a tone for me to kind of, okay, I'm ready to move on to the next level.